His Excellency Yasutoshi Nishimura, Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry, Japan. His Excellency Hiroshi Suzuki, Japanese Ambassador to India. Dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, business leaders, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would like to welcome all of you to this important seminar, which has been jointly organized by FICCI, JETRO, NEDO and TERI. We are privileged by the presence of His Excellency Nishimura. Japan is one of India's most important partners, and especially in the last few years, the bilateral relationship has been on an elevated trajectory marked by multiple high-level visits which serve to further strengthen and deepen the relationship. Indeed, India and Japan have a shared goal of a world that is peaceful, stable and prosperous. And deep tech and clean energy, I believe, are important aspects of the global agenda and can be the cornerstone of our strategic partnership. If I were to talk about deep tech, what is obviously clear is that semiconductors are at the heart of every technology, and India's semiconductor market, which was estimated at around $15 billion in 2020, is expected to reach $63 billion by 2026, and in fact continue growing thereafter. As far as the Indian government is concerned, there is a 760 billion rupees outlay for Semicon India program, which is an indication of the government's focus on attaining a degree of self-reliance and an aggressive drive to position the country as a global chip manufacturing hub. The deep tech startup base has been growing at a CAGR of more than 40%, with AI and IoT accounting for more than 3/4 of all deep tech startups. Indeed, the market in India, the market for AI in India is expected to be around $7.8 billion by 2025, and is thereafter projected to grow at a CAGR of 20%. On a recent visit to IIT Guwahati for FICCI's National Executive Meeting, the first ever in the northeast part of India, I witnessed cutting-edge research in nanotechnology, genome sequencing, and cancer care. And if you see that happening in the far-flung areas of our vast country, then you know that this is something which has certainly taken root deeply. Given India's talent pool and the foundation laid by the software sector, I believe we will play a major role, but there is much to learn from Japan and huge scope for collaboration. In terms of digital innovation, I think India's rapid strides in digitalization is unprecedented and has allowed us to leapfrog traditional constraints which held back progress, especially in remote areas. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision for a new India has seen massive investment in digital infrastructure which connects and empowers people. Digital payments, the healthcare stack, the open network for digital commerce, fast rollout of 5G, these are all examples of India's commitment to digitalization and innovation at a scale which is not seen anywhere else in the world. PM Modi has referred to it as digital public goods, which India is willing to share with others, especially developing nations. The Indo-Japan Digital Partnership aims to promote joint projects for digital transformation, and both nations are also looking to deepen collaboration in other areas such as telecom network security, submarine cable systems, and quantum communications. And I believe there is scope to integrate payment systems and have mutual recognition of electronic IDs to further deepen our partnership. In terms of clean energy, as you would be aware, India is committed to 500 gigawatts of electricity generation from non-fossil sources by 2030 and achieving net zero by 2070. We are the fourth globally in terms of renewable energy installed capacity and perhaps the only large economy to have met its COP26 commitments. There is huge potential in solar hybrid, offshore wind energy, floating PV projects, and of course, green hydrogen. And India is also making a determined push in electronic vehicles, which is likely to be a $200 billion opportunity by 2030. There are significant investments in the entire ecosystem, which is strongly supported by policy measures, both at the central and state level. I'd like to talk a little bit about areas of cooperation. I believe more than 1,400 Japanese companies operate in India, with many brands being household names. And that is a great opportunity for this collaboration to be taken further. So if we look at opportunities to invest and collaborate in areas like green technology and innovation, for example, energy storage and smart grids, to name some options. Waste management, where Japan is a leader in waste to energy and recycling initiatives, and I think India, as we grow and we urbanize, these are areas that need greater focus. Sustainable transport, so EV infrastructure, battery swapping networks, etc. again present a lot of opportunities. And of course, sustainable urban development, such as energy efficient buildings and eco-friendly infrastructure, as well as track 2 initiatives, such as the FICCI Forum of Parliamentarians. In fact, recently we were delighted to welcome former Prime Minister Kishida and the Ganesha group of MPs to FICCI, and had a wonderful closed-door interaction where there were many ideas about how our two nations could take the relationship further. There are multiple working groups at FICCI covering all aspects of the Indian economy, especially active in climate change and sustainability, which are of course important goals. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to end by saying that Japan is known for its technology, while India has a unique combination of a young population, a fast-growing economy, and a large domestic market. In an era of increasing instability due to geopolitical developments, I think the Indo-Japan ties stand out for their genuine warmth and the connect which is there at the highest levels. And I believe that both our nations working together will not just be mutually beneficial, but indeed will help the world at large. And we as businesses must come together to take that relationship forward. My favorite saying is that governments establish relationships, but it's the business-to-business contacts and the people-to-people contacts which actually take it.
Now for me to acknowledge the presence of and extend a very warm welcome to our guest of honor, Shri Suman K. Berry, Honorable Vice Chairperson, Niti Ayog, gracing this occasion. Let's welcome him in our midst with a big round of applause. Welcome, sir. President, New Energy and Industrial Technology Development Organization, NEDO. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mr. Hiroshi Oikawa.
The organizer of today's event, I would like to extend my warm greetings to all of you. And I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Shuri Suman Berry, Honorable Vice Chairperson, NITI Ayog, Government of India, and His Excellency Mr. Yasutoshi Nishimura, Honorable Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry, Government of Japan, and His Excellency Mr. Hiroshi Suzuki, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Japan to India and Bhutan, and to all the distinguished guests for gracing us with your presence today. It is truly an honor for me to host this event, especially in a year when Japan is hosting G7 and India is hosting G20. Now, let me briefly introduce some of NEDO's activity. NEDO, the New Energy and Industrial Technology Development Organization, is one of Japan's largest funding agency for R&D projects under the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, METI. Since its establishment in 1980, NEDO has been actively involved in numerous technology development and demonstration projects with the mission of addressing energy and environmental challenges by bringing together the expertise of private companies, universities, and research institutions. Over the years, NEDO has successfully implemented several technology development and demonstration projects in the area, such as fuel cells, hydrogen-related technologies, and so on. Currently, NEDO is managing 8 funds for specific R&D missions, including so-called the Green Innovation Fund projects aimed at realizing the innovations for carbon neutrality, and of course, the fund for supporting startups is one of them. In terms of international collaboration, NEDO is committed to promoting new technologies in the energy and the environmental sectors, not only within Japan, but also in India and other countries. In fact, since the opening of NEDO's New Delhi office in 2008, NEDO has collaborated with Indian government and local governments on around 20 projects. NEDO will continue to steadily implement new projects, leveraging the outcome of today's seminar. And I would also like to highlight the bilateral relationship between India and Japan in the context of energy and environment. India's recent launch of the National Green Hydrogen Mission in August 2021 has garnered significant attention as a clean energy initiative. NEDO is delighted to witness India's strong emphasis on green hydrogen. This development presents a promising opportunity for further collaboration with Japan, which has been at the forefront of hydrogen energy and fuel cell R&D since in 1980. The India-Japan Clean Energy Partnership advocating for enhanced energy cooperation between the two countries. In line with this framework, NEDO is currently conducting feasibility study for future demonstrations on green hydrogen production and green ammonia co-firing in thermal power generation in India. In conclusion, I hope that the insights gained from today's seminar will assist us in identifying the necessary steps for the future, understanding the challenges we face, and determining the path to further deepen the economic relationships between India and Japan. Thank you once again for your presence and participation today. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed to Ekada-san for that welcome address. And ladies and gentlemen, now it is my privilege to invite Shri Ajay Shankar, former Secretary, Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, Government of India, and Distinguished Fellow, TERI, for his welcome remarks. Sir. Let's welcome you.
On behalf of TERI, I am delighted to welcome all of you to this event today. The theme of today's discussion, deep tech innovation and clean energy, symbolizes the distance our countries have traveled together in cooperation and in India's journey towards modernization and becoming a developed economy. Japan has been an invaluable partner in this journey, and now today's discussion is on themes which will assist India in reaching the global frontiers in deep tech, innovation, clean energy, sustainability. This partnership is particularly important, I think, at this juncture on the global stage, because the latest IPCC report says that 1.5 degrees is almost lost as a goal. The windows of adaptation are closing slowly. So I think mankind faces an existential crisis, a threat, and I think we need to mobilize ourselves with a greater sense of urgency across the world to make the transition to net zero and to sustainability. And in that transition, India matters. We matter just because of our sheer size. We matter because of the fact that we are at an early stage of this modernization, so we have the potential of bypassing traditional paths of development and leapfrogging into a new green, sustainable economy rather than repeating the path of the other developed economies. And in that journey and in that effort, Japan is an invaluable partner. And the good news from the Indian side is that our levels of ambition have risen, our capacities have risen, and our energy levels in driving change and trying to get to the global frontier has also risen. And I'm glad you mentioned the hydrogen mission, where I think this is the first time that India is entering a frontier area of global technology development and wanting to be along with the other developed countries on the global frontier jointly. So I'm looking forward to today's deliberation. I'm sure it will be of immense value to all the participants physically here as well as taking part in it in the hybrid mode. And this will continue to deepen our partnerships and cooperation in our development journey and also in mankind as a whole moving very quickly to a green, sustainable, net zero circular economy.
Time for our special address and ministerial session, and because of that, ladies and gentlemen, we have very esteemed dignitaries are going to be joining us on stage. So let me take the privilege of inviting them to grace the stage now. May I invite His Excellency Mr. Hiroshi Suzuki, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Japan to India and Bhutan, to kindly grace the stage. And may I invite Mr. Rajesh Akharji, former Secretary, DIPP, Government of India, to kindly felicitate his presence with a bouquet of flowers. If we can have the of His Excellency Mr. Hiroshi Suzuki, ladies and gentlemen. Big round of applause for His Excellency Mr. Yasutoshi Nishimura, the Honorable Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry, Government of Japan. Welcome, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Shri Suman K. Berry, Vice Chairperson, Niti Aayog, on stage. Let's welcome him on stage with a big round of applause. And may I invite Mr. Hiroshi. His Excellency Mr. Hiroshi Suzuki, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Japan to India and Bhutan, to kind of applause. His Excellency Mr. Hiroshi Suzuki.
西村経済産業大臣、スマンケイベリーニティアヨグ副委員長、フィッキースブラカンドパンダ会長、演台の上の共催者代表の皆様。Actually, I have prepared remarks by text, but everything has been said by my former speakers. So I will depart from my prepared text and speak something else. This morning, we're an honor to have His Excellency Mr. Yasutoshi Nishimura, Minister for Economy, Trade and Industry. He has been the right-hand man of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Actually, it was Prime Minister Shinzo Abe who took Minister Nishimura in early 2000s to come to India together. That was the beginning of Minister Nishimura's encounter with India. And ever since, he has visited India 20 times. He is truly committed to special partnership between Japan and India. Recently, Minister Nishimura has assumed the president, have become the president of Japan-India Parliamentary Friendship League. And as such, he is leading a high-powered delegation of this parliamentary league. We now have former Minister Yamagiwa, I'm sorry, Minister Yamagiwa, who has been the minister in charge of Japanese economy revitalization. He has been the key person for revitalizing the Japanese economy. And we have Vice Minister Wada, who just stepped away. And also we have Minister A.K. Suzuki, a parliamentary vice minister for the cabinet office. And we now have other high-powered core members of Japan-India Parliamentary Friendship League. This league will be the power engine for the big political pull, the big political impetus that we need to have a big bang in expanding Japan-India special partnership. So I'm really thrilled to hear presentations today from leading blue chip companies like Kubota, Suzuki, Canon, and also I am excited that Minister Nishimura has brought 15 top startup companies from Japan. So I am really excited and hopeful that this great seminar will provide opportunities for new business opportunities, which will be both mutually beneficial, both to Japan and India. So thank you very much.
Optimistic note, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my privilege, my honor to request and welcome to the podium His Excellency Mr. Yasutoshi Nishimura, the Honorable Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry, Government of Japan, for the ministerial address. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome His Excellency Mr. Yasutoshi Nishimura.
I am Nishimura Yasutoshi, Minister of Economy and Trade and Industry. And I'm very honored to be here and to have a chance to speak about Japanese policy and also relationship between Japan and India. So from now on, let me allow me to speak in Japanese. So please set your okay. テックイノベーション、そしてクリーンエネルギー分野での協力を目指すこのセミナーがこうして盛大に開かれますことを、心から嬉しく思っております。本セミナーに開催にあたりましてご尽力いただきましたJETRO、NEDO、FICCI、TERI、この皆様方、ご参加の皆様方に感謝を申し上げたいというふうに思います。また、省庁横断でのインドの変革の陣頭指揮を取っておられます、ニティ・アーヨグのベリー副委員長のご出席にも感謝申し上げたいというふうに思います。ありがとうございます。今月8日で安倍総理が亡くなられて1年が経ちました。安倍総理が凶弾に倒れられた翌日には、こちらインドのモディ首相が我が友安倍さんという追悼文を公開され、国を挙げて無に服していただきました。インドの皆様から寄せられた弔意の数々に、この場をお借りしてお礼を申し上げたいというふうに思います。今、鈴木大使からご紹介がありましたけれども、初当選以来20年間、私は安倍元総理と政治行動を共にしてまいりました。2005年に初めて安倍総理に同行して、インドを訪問したわけでありますが、2017年には日印首脳会談に参加をするため、安倍元総理と私は当時官房副長官としてグジャラート州を訪問いたしました。モディ首相との固い抱擁を目の当たりにし、またアーメダバードの方々のもう熱烈な大歓迎に感動をいたしました。まさに安倍総理とモディ首相のこの固い絆、そして安倍外交の真髄を学べたこと、私の生涯の財産となっております。今年の4月には、強いインドは日本のために、強い日本はインドのためにと常におっしゃっていた安倍元総理のご意思を引き継ぎまして、日印友好議員連盟の会長に就任をいたしました。今回、経産大臣とこの議連会長の双方の立場で日印関係を強化をするべく、私自身はその2017年以来の6年ぶり、また経産大臣としては4年ぶりの訪印を実現することになりました。先ほど鈴木大使からご紹介になった仲間の議員と今回共に来ております。私自身、今お話ありましたように、20回以上もう訪印をしておりまして、今日もまるで親戚の家に帰ってきたような、そんな気持ちでおります。日本の企業、日本の産業は鈴木を皮切りに1991年のインドの経済自由化以降、投資のみならず技術移転や人材育成を通じてインド産業とともに成長してまいりました。2014年以降、モディ首相のリーダーシップの下でのメイクインインディア政策などによって税制改革や外資規制の緩和などビジネス環境改善が急速に進み、日本企業のインドへの注目は一段と高まったわけであります。今日、インドの人口は中国を上回り世界第1位、経済規模はイギリスを上回って世界第5位、車の販売台数では日本を上回り第3位となり、さらに成長を続けております。こうした中、インドの日本企業の拠点数は2013年の約2500カ所から最近では約4800拠点と2倍近くに、累積投資額も150億ドルから約380億ドルと 2.5 倍 となるなど大きな成長を見せております。経済産業省も日本工業団地 JITs の整備、貨物専用鉄道 DFC などのインフラ整備、日本企業によるものづくり人材育成、ジム、ジェックなどを通じてインドの産業競争力の強化や我が国産業のインドでの展開、このことに努めてまいりました。2020年以降、自立したを通じた高度製造業の誘致や半導体や水素など先端分野の産業振興が前例のない規模、スピードで進んでいると認識をしております。また、アダールに代表されるデジタル公共財など、デジタル分野でインドが世界をリードしていることも世界中の知るところであります。インドは G20 デジタルトラックにおいても、デジタル公共インフラ、セキュリティ、デジタルスキルについての議論をリードしております。昨年3月、今、岸田総理とモディ首相が5年間で5兆円の対員投入を目指すという目標が示されております。変革するインドにとって日本が良きパートナーであり続けるには、量と質の両方で日印産業協力を新たな次元へと大胆に進化させることが求められていると感じております。世界は今、自然災害、パンデミック、地政学的緊張、このインドでも日本でも豪雨による災害が発生をしているところであります。そうした中で、インドはグローバルサウスの盟主として、こうした危機に主導的に対処しようとしています。我が国もサプライチェーン強靭化をはじめとして、グローバルな経済的強靭性および経済安全保障、また包摂的で持続可能な成長をインドを含む信頼できるパートナーとともに高いレベルで実現したいと考えております。日本とインドは長い交流の歴史を通じて共有してきた自由、民主主義、人権、法の支配といった普遍的な価値で結ばれ、戦略的利益を共有する特別戦略的グローバルパートナーであります。両国はインド太平洋経済枠組み IPEC やクアッドといった多国間の枠組みにも参画をし、地域の経済指数構築に向けてリーダーシップを発揮しております。
I really think that the guest of honor was the Honourable Minister, but let me acknowledge the kindness of the organisers to have me present here. I did have another program at this time, but when I understood that the Honourable Minister was going to be present, I rearranged it because, as I'll say in my remarks, I hold the relationship. I personally cherish very much my associations with Japan and the relationship between Japan and India. And what I do have to say, Minister, is that the vision that you just articulated is really the best tribute to the late Shinzo Abe. I happened to be in the room. There was something called the Arun Jaitley lecture when this news came to us, and the grief in my boss, our Prime Minister, in Prime Minister Modi's voice and face. He really had lost a close friend. I did not know of your close association with him, but for you to build upon his legacy in terms of our joint partnership is really, as I say, a tribute to somebody who brought our two countries close together. So thank you for that. There's a lot more to be done, and I know that you are wanting to get onto the business side. So and as Ambassador Suzuki said, much of what had to be said has been said. So I'll be a bit more, both personal and expansive. So firstly, just to say that I took over the vice chairmanship of Niti Aayog just over a year ago in May of 2022. too. And as you possibly know, Niti is both a Hindi word for policy, but it is capitalized because it is also an acronym, the National Institution for the Transformation of India. And I've reflected a great deal on what this term transformation means. And I do have to say that Japan comes to mind. I was fortunate that I was at Princeton and had colleagues both from Gaimusho and from METI, one of them, Kusaka-san, then became a vice minister at METI. And at that time, the rise of Japan was an object of study. And so at 2 points, I think Japan has transformed itself. One, in the Meiji Revolution, and second, after the war. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi last year from the Red Fort, celebrating 75 years of India's independence, put forward a vision of India as a developed society by 2047. And we are therefore in this period called the Amrit Kal, and it is the duty of Niti Aayog to put flesh on the bones of that vision. And so as one tries to benchmark what one can achieve in 25 years, the years leading up to the Tokyo Olympics, I think, represent another kind of episode where Japan and the Japanese model provides a great deal of food for thought. But more personally, let me just say that quite apart from my association with graduate students who both became senior officials in Gaimusho and METI, I was a part of the expert group that worked on what finally led to the Indo-Japanese SIPA, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which after Singapore was the first of India's bilateral FTAs. And also, since then, I've had various interactions, particularly on the energy, in the energy space with the Institute for Energy Economics of Japan. So when on one of those visits, when I visited Tokyo and met with Ambassador Chunoi, he indicated to me that he saw the Indo-Japanese relationship as perhaps both the most intimate and the most important in the world. Now, we are here to discuss deep tech and all of that, but let me just say that I think that METI also is very influential in the negotiation of trade agreements. And I just wanted to talk about another dimension of the relationship between India and Japan. I think we know that with the Quad, that the security piece is in place. Based on what the Honourable Minister has had to say, we certainly see the economic relationship at both ends. Textiles on the one hand, deep tech on the other, as spanning the whole range. But what I saw, and what I don't know, what I think needs to be recreated, is the deep connection between, as it were, MSMEs, medium and small enterprises in Japan and in China. I think that still needs more work. And the question in my mind, as India tries to engage with supply chains, is does this or does this not need some kind of regional economic architecture? India had the opportunity to join the RCEP, but chose, for whatever reason, to turn that down. India is negotiating an FTA with the UK, even as we speak, and people expect that that might be concluded in the course of this year. Japan, India is also negotiating with the EU. The EU has a trade relationship with Japan, and now the UK has, I'm not quite sure where it stands, but has certainly applied, it may even have been accepted as a member of the CPTPP. So the question in my mind is that, is it really the case that the, as it were, standards for entering the CPTPP are so much higher than what would be required for India to conclude an FTA with the EU, for example, and whether what we were talking about, the relocation of supply chains and the integration of MSMEs in Japan and in India, whether this would be facilitated by India's application for the CPTPP. I should say that this is an open session. I have no larger authority to float this idea, but that is what Niti Aayog exists to do. And so if the idea has some traction, then maybe think tanks in both India and in Japan could start exploring the issue. So having launched that bombshell, let me just thank the organizers for inviting me here, thank the Honorable Minister to come in person, and as I say, keep the legacy of Abe-san alive, and let me wish the event every success. Thanks to the organizers.
Kindly give us a group photo opportunity at this juncture. And there's going to be a presentation series from Japanese industrial representatives. I'd like to invite them as well for this photo opportunity. Mr. Kenichi Ayukawa, Vice President of Suzuki Motor Corp, Mr. Yuichi Kitao, President Kubota Corporation, and Mr. Hiroaki Takeishi, Senior Managing Executive Officer, Canon Incorporated. So we have Mr. Kenichi Ayukawa, Mr. Yuichi Kitao, and Mr. Hiroaki Takeishi. I'd like to take now, the group photo session now, and then we will have presentations from Japan seated. We're just going to have this photo op, and after that we will have the presentations with our dignitaries being here in our midst. So I request you to please remain seated, ladies and gentlemen, and don't go away anywhere. Thank you very much once again, ladies and gentlemen. If the photographers are done with their pictures, the dignitaries will have to take seats. Thank you very much. A big round of applause to the esteemed dignitaries. We thank Shri Suman Belli, the Honorable Vice Chairperson of the National Institution for the Transformation of India. Thank you, sir. And I request the esteemed dignitaries to please take seats.
Yasutoshi Nishimura, the Minister of Economy, Trade and Industry, and Honorable Ambassador of Japan, Mr. Hiroshi Suzuki, and Shuri Suman K. Berry, the Vice Chairperson, Niti Aayog, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, very good morning. First, starting with my speech, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Mr. Nishimura. His vision and his commitment very much encouraged to us who are involving with Indian business and the Indian economy. We have to follow his guidance. We try to develop furthermore relationship with India and Japan. I believe all over here, you are very much encouraged his commitment. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let me start with our history of India. The relation between Suzuki and India began from our joint venture agreement in 1982. After that, we started a production of Maruti 800 at Gurgaon plant in 1983. Then, we grew with people of India, and our second plant in India, Maruti Suzuki Manasar plant, started operation in 2006. Also, our third plant in India, Suzuki Motor Gujarat, started operation in 2017, and last year we celebrate our 40 years firm partnership with India. So we have the 40 years anniversary ceremony. The ceremony was held at Gujarat in August 2022. The ceremony was attended by Prime Minister, His Excellency Mr. Modi, and Ambassador of Japan to India, Mr. Satoshi Suzuki, and others. Also, Japanese Prime Minister Mr. Kishida sent a video message from Japan. Mr. Toshihiro Suzuki, President of Suzuki Motor Corporation, he expressed his gratitude to Prime Minister Mr. Modi and the people of India at the ceremony. I'd like to talk about the future prospects in India. As expressed by Amrit Kaur, which Prime Minister Mr. Modi often uses in his speeches. India has aggressively introduced various measures to promote economic growth and has set a target of increasing GDP 10 times and manufacturing 15 times by 2047. Recently, the United Nations Population Fund announced that India has surpassed China as the world's most populous country this year. We Suzuki know India is trying to achieve carbon neutrality by 2070. We are proceeding to contribute toward it by electric vehicle, biogas business, using renewable energy, and so on. We announced EV concept model EVX in Auto Expo 2023, and we proceed to produce and use a lot of renewable energy such as solar power, and as India is expected to continue such a growth, we believe that existing tree plants will not able to meet future sales demand in India. Therefore, we have already begun constructing a new plant in Kalkoda in Haryana state. Besides, in April this year, we announced the construction of additional new plant which can produce up to 1 million units. Suzuki Group will continue to invest in India and would like to grow with Indian economy and the people of India.